everyone, so I've been wanting to film this video for such a long time, not just because it's Halloween, but because I am absolutely obsessed with scary movies, and I could go into a full-on ramble about why I love them so much, because I know to a lot of people scary movies are just like gore and being scared and everything, but I took so many classes when I was in college that just opened my mind to the fact that scary movies are actually just like a platform to address like social issues, and there's so much that goes into scary movies that is just more than being scared. So in honor of Halloween being this month and in honor of me uploading a video every day during the month of October, I know it's crazy, I decided that I would be doing my top 10, not my top 10, I don't know why I said top 10, but my favorite scary movies, because in my fall bucket list video, which you should watch if you haven't already, I talked about how I wanted to have a scary movie marathon. I still haven't done it yet. I've watched scary movies, but I haven't had a marathon. But I said that I would be doing a video of my favorite scary movies to give you an idea of movies that I really like, and maybe some inspiration for your own scary movie marathon. And with that said, I have seen so many classic scary movies because of those classes, from Nosferatu, which is like a silent black and white film, to Psycho, to Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I've seen so many classic scary movies. And this video isn't a video for me to show off and be like, oh, look at all the scary movies I watched from the 60s. It's a video about my personal favorite scary movies. So yes, a lot of these are more current, but they're just my favorites. I'm not doing like, oh, hey, these are the top 10 scary movies of all time. No, these are just my favorite scary movies that I think are fun to watch during the Halloween season, or if you're like me, a crazy person, watch them all year round. My friend Tristan came over like around Christmas time. Most people would be watching like ABC Family and be watching like Deck the Halls or whatever, and here I am watching like Black Christmas. So I'm a little messed up in the movie department. And I'm going to start off with the Sinister series. The second one is a letdown. The first one is so scary. I see a lot of scary movies, so if I go in to see a movie and I walk out and I was like, whoa, that really freaked me out, I know that it was a good movie. And the first Sinister movie was really, really scary. And the second one was not scary. It was kind of just funny, and I don't really recommend watching it, but if you're like me, I like watching movies and I like series, so even though the second one was kind of a letdown, it's fun to see a little bit of a continuation, even though it was not as good as the first one by far. It does have a little bit more of a background story and a little bit more to it than just, you know, a horror movie. So if you like movies with a little bit more of a backstory, then I really recommend Sinister. The next one is probably my favorite series, and it's called Insidious. And the third one just came out, but I think it should be available on DVD soon, or you could probably download it. I know it's illegal, don't do illegal things, but everyone does it. Anyways, it's a very strong series, very scary, and it really makes you think. The third movie was a prequel. The second one really explained a lot of what happened in the first one, and I don't want to give too much away in this video because I do want you guys to watch these movies because they are really good. It is definitely very scary. It's very, very scary. It's not a gory movie. It's definitely more like paranormal, and I do love gory movies as well, but it's directed by one of my favorite horror movie directors, James Wan. He directed and I think wrote the Saw series. But he is just brilliant, and he also, I guess I'll talk about the next one. The next one is called The Conjuring, and this one was very, very popular when it came out. It was the best horror movie that I had seen in such a long time. It's very pro-Christian, like, you know, the Bible saves and everything like that. I think it was shot in the 70s. It was based on a true story. It wasn't shot in the 70s, it was based in the 70s, sorry, but it was based on a true story, and if a movie's based on a true story, especially a scary movie, I will go and research everything I can. So the story was based on a family, and the family is real. And so after I saw that movie the first, second, third time in theaters, I would always go and read interviews because one of the daughters wrote a book, and it's really, really fascinating. But it is like a haunted house type of movie. But the first time I saw it, I was so scared. I went to go see it with Mike, and he got really scared too. I've seen so many movies that I've just kind of become desensitized. Like, I'm like, okay, this will happen. But The Conjuring definitely was a very fresh take on horror, and James Wan is just like a master. The next movie is Diary of the Dead, and it was directed by George A. Romero, and that is a zombie movie. If you don't know who George Romero is, he is considered to be the godfather of zombie films. He directed and made not Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. But what I love about George Romero's movies is that he doesn't use zombies as just like a flesh-eating creature that, you know, goes around ripping out people's throats. He uses zombies as a way to critique society. Night of the Living Dead was very, very very heavy on commenting on the racism in America during that time. It was filmed during a time of the civil rights movement. There was an African American lead in that movie, which is very unheard of in that time, and he was saving the white Caucasian people. And then Dawn of the Dead was the second movie, and that was shot in a shopping mall, and they actually did a whole project about it, so that's why I'm like very into it. To kind of comment on how much of a consumer society North America especially has become. He uses zombies as a way to comment on social issues or social problems, and Diary of the Dead is one of his more recent films, so that's why I'm including this one, and it's one of my personal favorites. I think it's commenting on the use of social media and like technology. It's shot a lot like on like a camcorder from what I remember, and it's a fun movie to watch if you want to watch like a zombie movie. The next series I'm going to talk about is the Scream series, and the Scream series was directed by Wes Craven, and I think the first one came out in 1997. There's 4 movies. The 4th one is definitely more recent. It has like Hayden Panettiere in it and Emma Roberts. Scream is really a fun movie to watch. It originally started off to be like a satire of horror movies, and that's why I think a lot of people liked it. A teenager, she's getting attacked by this guy in a mask, and there's always a different killer in all of the movies, so this poor girl has been like attacked 4 different times. It uses a lot of the horror genre conventions in it. They're making fun of the horror movies, but it's still scary. It's a slasher movie. It kind of started the whole slasher trend in the 90s and early 2000s. I used to be really, really scared of scary movies, and so one of my best friends, Nikki, and I, we had a Scream marathon, and that just, you know, sent me running. I started watching scary movies all the time, so Scream holds a special place in my heart. The next one is The Skeleton Key, and this has Kate Hudson in it, and she basically plays a hospice nurse. She was hired to go to like a plantation in New Orleans. When you find out what actually happened in the end, you're like, oh my gosh, that's really creative and really scary. And I wouldn't call it a horror. It's definitely a thriller. Can't really tell you too much about the movie without giving too much away, but it is a really intense movie, and I really recommend it. The next movie is called Grave Encounters, and Sierra and I watched this while we were in Greece, and then the second one came out. So Grave Encounters 1 and 2. Unlike most sequels, Grave Encounters 2 was actually really, really good. So it's a good movie, again, if you want to have a little bit of a marathon. This is another found footage sort of thing, but instead of it being just like someone with a camcorder, they kind of went to an old mental asylum, ooh, spooky, with a film crew, like to film kind of like a ghost hunter sort of video. And as you guys know, I went to an abandoned asylum when I went to visit Sierra in Pennsylvania. Basically, they get stuck in this mental asylum and a bunch of crazy shit happens, but it is a really good found footage, camcorder point of view sort of film. And I don't think a scary movie recommendations list for the month of October would be complete without Michael Myers and the Halloween series. I have a special place in my heart also for Michael Myers. He's one of my favorite, that sounds really bad, he's one of my favorite like movie serial killers. His story is really interesting, and there's so many movies. There's like Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O, Halloween Resurrection. And what I find so funny about Michael Myers is that he moves so slow. He just has his little good old kitchen knife, and he's moving so slow, but he always gets them. It's a really fun slasher movie to watch. I did one like Rob Zombie's Halloween, but I like, what's the guy's name? I forgot the director's name, but I like the older ones better than the new ones. The next movie is a personal favorite of mine, and it's the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I like the one with Jessica Biel. They've made like a ton of them. The one that just came out, the one where the girl, she got a big inheritance and she ended up going back to Texas, that one's okay if you just want to have a marathon. But if you're just going to watch one Texas Chainsaw Massacre one, definitely watch the one with Jessica Biel. It's really intense, it's gory, it's gross, but it's a fun movie to watch. So the next 2 I'm going to talk about are a little bit, I feel like, less well-known scary movies. The first one is called Mother's Day, and it is kind of like a hostage movie. These 2 sons end up like taking people hostage for their mother because they live in the mom's old house, I think. It's like one of those random movies I just decided to watch one day on Netflix, and it actually is really good. It's a gory movie. And the last movie I'm going to talk about is called The Den, and it's a really cool movie because most of it is kind of shot on a computer screen. So I've watched it on the TV, I've watched it on my computer. I definitely recommend watching it on your computer or your laptop, just because it is kind of filmed to look like it's on a laptop, so it just makes a little bit more sense and it's a little less awkward. Like if you watched Unfriended, it all kind of takes place on a computer, so it's a little awkward to be watching it on a big screen. But if you're watching it in a group, I mean, it's not a huge deal if you watch it on the TV, but it's just like if you're having a little movie marathon with yourself, I'd recommend watching it on the computer. But basically, she's doing this project, and then her computer gets hacked into and a bunch of stuff happens in it. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but then like when you find out why all this stuff happened, you're like, that can happen. Like, so I'd love it if you listed some of your favorite scary movies in the comments down below, and let me know if you like scary movies as much as I do. I'm always looking for new scary movies to watch. I've seen so many of them, but I love always watching more. So leave me some of your favorites down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying Vlogtober so far, and I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.